Hey folks, Kunal here, Bulls on Wall Street. Guys, I'm pumped to share this with you guys as I think it's really important. As you guys know, I've been doing a small accounts program for the members in my chat room, my students, where I trade a $2,000 account with margin, and I apply the same rules that my students that trade inside my hedge fund have to trade with, which is 2 positions max 400 shares, and it's a $2,000 account, and we give them buying power and some great tools. And what I've been doing is on video and screen share, trading the same account as they do to show them how to grow it. Now, one of the things about growing a small account that I really stress with my traders is just learning to make $100 a day. It seems so easy, right? But it's one of the hardest things I've seen traders do. And the reason is that we have such crazy expectations, right? You see people on Twitter and social media, and I'm one of them, right? And you see like what they're doing or what they have, and right, you want it. And so you're not happy with your $100 or $200, and so what do? You end up going for more, and you go for broke, and then you have losses for the day. I've seen this with a lot of my students, and I always have to sit them down and remember, you know, guys, look, I'm 35 years old. I've been doing this for X amount of my life. That's why I'm making thousands in a, you know, on a trade or in a day sometimes. You know, I have the skills, the experience, but also the bankroll, right, of trading hundreds of thousands of dollars in capital. So this has been a unique experience for me too, because now I'm in the same position as them. I every day want to go for it, right, and make more and more. I have to remind myself, hey, 100, 200 a day keeps the doctor away. And I've been showing them how to do that. And it's been an awesome experience because now we know how to do it and it's possible, and I can show them how to do it every day. But one of the things that I always tell my students is work on your awareness. See, you can nip and tuck your way all you want, but in trading and in business, at certain times you're going to be faced with such unique reward to risk scenarios that you have to go for the bigger trade. It doesn't mean you take a gamble and you just go all in on some random trade, but if you have proper awareness, you'll see in the markets every few weeks something that's a unique situation where you can get into an account builder trade. That account builder trade is the type of trade that builds your account, right? It might be $400, $500, $600 that really gives you that huge percentage gain to set your month straight. So they don't come that often, but when you see them, you have to take them. So how do you find them? Like, how do you identify them? Well, how you identify them is by understanding what your go-to setups are. You know, one of the things that we talk to in class, and I work with all my traders, is what's your go-to setup? Your old faithful. That setup that you know every single thing about, that you can identify, and when you see it in real time, you know how to act. You know how to take as much gain out of it as possible. You know all the little nitty-gritty to make it that big account building trade. They don't happen often, but when you see them, you have to take them. And the key is this. You can't just take your 20, 30 cents and then be happy with it, because that's not the type of setup it is. Remember, this is your go-to setup. So you have statistics behind it that say you're a master at this setup, that you make money on this setup. You know your win percentage, your reward to risk ratios. You know everything there is to know about this setup. So when you see it, it's time to attack it. And the key is to let it ride. Now, I know it's really easy to want to take that 20, 30 cents whenever you see it. Why is that? I've been like that too. Because we're so used to losing, right? We're so used to grinding it out and being frustrated that when you see green, it's like, I've got green, right? And you just want to take it because it feels good. But remember that feels good doesn't necessarily mean it's the right move. Our job is to trade our plan and extract as much gain out of a stock as possible when it's our go-to setup and it's one of those unique situations where we have tremendous reward for very low risk. So we had that type of setup last week with the shippers. If you guys haven't been following stocks, a lot of the shippers moved hundreds of % in a matter of days. And so what I did patiently all week was wait for that right moment when the momentum had ebbed so I could short them to the downside right back to where they came. And so that's what we did with this DCIX. You know, I had a great trade on it where I didn't chase it and get in front of it, but I let it crash and I shorted the first bounce the day that it really broke down. And so we had a great opportunity in this. I shorted 200 shares at $16.60, so about $3,200 of buying power in it. And I covered my last shares into the 9s. That stock actually rode into the 4s, but I'd taken off for the day, and I've been kicking myself even right now about it, because that would have been a great account builder if I just let it trend all day. But I booked off and went on the boat and goofed around for the day, and I got a little bit of regret about it. But it was still a great trade. I made over $1,000 on it. And the reason was, as it started to work for me, I didn't just go and take the 50, 60 cents, even though it would have been a nice day and I would have hit my daily goals. Because this setup, it's called a rubber band short, is one of my go-tos. And so if it's one of my go-tos, I know exactly what my win ratio is on it, what my reward to risk ratio historically is on it, and I know every single detail about that setup on how to attack it. I know that the first bounce, I want to hit it at the VWAP if I see XYZ situation. I know that if it doesn't hit the VWAP and it bases out and curls and breaks under the 9 EMA, I'm going to do XYZ. I have an acute understanding of this setup, and so when it starts to work for me, I have an obligation to write it down and capture as much gain as I can out of it. So guys, I've attached this webinar to it. I hope you guys like this. I do this for my students 3 times a week. This is what we talk about. For some of my YouTube haters that love picking on my clothes and everything else, those sheets in the background that look like drapes, that look all crazy in the background, those are bed sheets. It was so bright when I was doing the webinar that literally my students couldn't see my face. They're like, Kunal, we can't see you. And I'm like, I know, it's bright, it's Florida, it's still beach season. And so I put my bed sheets over it so I could do the webinar. And it looks a little crazy, but that's how we do things here. Guys, I love hearing comments and chatting with you guys, so feel free to leave me feedback or questions. As you guys know, you can always email me, Kunal@bullsonwallstreet.com, and I just look forward to hearing from your feedback. Bootcamp class starts tonight. Look forward to seeing a lot of you guys in there. I think this is going to be a kick-ass class. Take care, guys. Peace.
All right, good. Well, let's get to work, and we can reminisce later. I only took 2 trades today. I took 2 trades today, one in DCIX, one in FSLR. This was really an incredible day in terms of just like rubber band setups. So let me hit the record button here. Okay, cool. So you can see like kind of what happened here the last few days. You had really this incredible run in all these shippers here. Incredible run in all these shippers here for the last few days. So $2 to $8. This one was at $1, got up to 8. The Drice, you know, this one was $1, got to 100, and gave it all back. They all did. And so that's actually pretty incredible. So the first trade of the day I took was in this FSLR. Man, look at those candles. It was bear flagging here, and I got this in the gap down list. It was bear flagging here, and it gapped down to what I thought was like some bad earnings or something. But I think the earnings came a few weeks ago, so we did nail a trade on this day on it. So this must have been some other type of news. I probably could have just checked and seen, but you know, you just play what you see. We had a decent setup on it, but it just didn't work. It gapped down, and then it popped up. And what I usually do is I let it pop, and then, you know, it either goes to the 9 EMA and rolls over, or 20 EMA and rolls over, or you know, I wait till it breaks under the VWAP. So see, like right here where it hit the VWAP, I shorted 400 shares, and you know, I preemptively usually just, you know, put a mental stop at the high of day, but I'm going to be a lot tighter on this. You know, essentially what happens is if it doesn't hold here, it should work really fast. If it doesn't go relatively quickly, you know, I just tend to get out of it. And so you can see like what happened was, you know, I shorted here at the VWAP, and it based for a few candles and popped down to 29, and then it just started to bounce. And once it ripped back over, I just got out of this thing. So I covered it like 29.60 or something. You know, I lost $60 on 400 shares. So I guess I only lost 15 cents. I'm probably a little bit more tight than I normally would be because I have a 400 position max. So, obviously you can't risk like a whole dollar because, you would hit your max loss. And so you got to be a little bit quicker with it or just get a lot better entry. And it didn't work, once it just started to rebound, that's my clue to get out of it. And it went and all the way and filled the gap before it had any type of pullback. So that's, not much we could do on it. What can you do? And then I had DCIX. This was really the play of the day. And we had a good short on it. All these shippers were essentially, right, they went from, so this was at $2 basically, went to 26 yesterday. And what happened is when they fade off like all day like this, like after the morning push, see how like they faded off all day? Usually if they gap up into like a resistance spot, they often will fade back. So we could have probably shorted as it broke under this first candle, but to me, that was too aggressive, meaning like we don't know if the run is over for sure yet, right? And I don't want to get caught in a huge squeeze, especially when the spread on it is like 30, 40 cents. Because if you have 400 shares or 300 shares or 200 shares, I mean, you're going to lose $100 just in the spread on any uptick. So you can't necessarily do it that way. So what I wanted to do was wait to see like how the first bounce went. So what happened here is it totally filled the gap. And you can use gaps as targets. Gaps are great targets because once the gap fills, like people want to keep pressing it, but you'll usually get a bounce. And so what I just did, there wasn't any rocket science to it. What I did was I just waited till the VWAP. So it got to the VWAP. Once it didn't break over the next candle, see how like it just popped right under? I just shorted it right here. I just shorted it right here, essentially with the stop above. And I give it probably even a little bit looser just in case. But, this is the big play. And so I'm okay like using a $1.50 type of stop on this because I'm going for essentially a gap fill down over here, basically, right? And kind of give it all back. So that's what we did. The first spike down, I covered some, and then it was just a matter of getting a little bit more. And so I covered into the spike, spike down. And then what ended up happening is as it started to base out and you couldn't even catch a bounce in it, I added some more down into this. And so then it popped down and I covered into this 11. And then as soon as it spiked up just a little bit here, this is a breakdown pullback to resistance. That's an additional add. So I added 100 shares here because I have two levels of support essentially, or resistance. I have this old breakdown spot and I have my 9 EMA here and it's the first pullback into the 9. And so I got kind of two levels to hold me. So I just added 100 shares here, and essentially I would have stopped out of all my shares if it had gotten above. And then I just rode this thing down. It dropped about $5 or $4 in two candles. And at that point, I just covered and I took off for the day. It did give you another flag right here. But at this point, when you're getting down all the way from 20, my assumption was that it would at some point bounce into the VWAP again or like have like a big squeeze and then die off into the day. We had a 9 EMA trender all day, which is just a rare occurrence, for those of you guys who have been trading with us for a while. You don't necessarily get these 9 EMA trenders so easily, but, that was like the gist of it. So the one trade, that's all I really did today was, that DCIX is where I made the $1,300 and that was it, And the beauty of it was, look, I'm only shorting and covering, 100, 100, 50, 50. So it wasn't a crazy amount of capital, Obviously, I'm trying to trade this $2,000 account to kind of show you guys how to grow this, grow these things. If on a regular day, I'd have probably shorted a few $1,000s. So I do have some regret on not opening up my other accounts, but that's the game we chose to play today. And you saw that rundown, you know, in all the stocks. And so, right, that's the sympathy play. And the reason we chose this one is it just has the biggest range. And this was the one that we had the borrows on. This and ECEA were the two stocks that we had the borrows on. So the gaps got faded, and you essentially got this rundown the whole day. You know, not much to it. It's just a matter of letting things kind of play out and waiting for the right spot. Frankly, we probably got a little bit lucky. It's rare to go from, you know, $21 to $4. I mean, thinking back on it, right, even a couple hundred shares and adding a couple hundred here, you know, it's a $3,000, $4,000 day without having to use too much capital, which is how I, you know, grew my first account, was, you know, being aggressive like that when I had just a couple grand, being aggressive like that and kind of hammering these things and riding them. That's how I made my original money, was, you know, I didn't nip and tuck my way like 30, 40 bucks a day, and right, next thing you know, you're like a millionaire. It was, right, when you have big moments, you go in for the kill, and you have those $1,000, $2,000 days, and you're doubling up your account. You know, when those days aren't present, then yeah, you want to, you know, make sure you just take your 100 or 200 bucks and keep grinding it out, waiting for those hot days where there is a lot of momentum. Because you guys have seen in the last 6 months, right? There's been periods for a couple weeks where the market's been really hot, and we've been having runs to the upside and downside in exaggeration. And then there's been weeks where the market's been real stagnant, and we haven't been able to get necessarily that huge juice. And guess what happens? You know, those days you kind of grind it out. You know, like yesterday, I made $1,000 bucks, but it took a lot more trades. You know, yesterday, you know, we made, let me bring out the ledger here, but yesterday, you know, we made $1,000 bucks, but it just took more trades because I didn't see, you know, that type of opportunity for a trender. So it's like, you know, we had a couple good trades, and I had one disaster trade because I was going for a $2,000 day. I was up like $1,500, $1,600, and I took a gamble trade. But, you know, that's how you do it, is when you have the hot market, you go for it. And otherwise, right, you're just taking your $100, $200, $300 and moving on. Because I guess this is the thing for those of you guys with less capital, is that once you have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, but I really think 10 is like the sweet spot where you can make pretty much whatever you want, because you'll have access to margin, right? If you have $10,000, you can probably get 70 to 100,000 in buying power, and really, I mean, you're at that point doing whatever it is that you want. You just got to make sure you don't lose more than 500 or 1,000 in a day, and you'll have like those monster days. And that's what I did for a long time. Even when I had started Bulls on Wall Street, I was trading a $10,000 account with 100,000 in buying power, and you know, I was ripping $1,000, $2,000 every day and taking the money out and paying myself. You don't necessarily need more than that till you really have a lot bigger goals. You know, if you want to hit those $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 days, which we've had this year, you know, when I'm trading my normal size account. I wasn't convinced that if I was convinced DCIX was going to go to 4, I would have stayed for the day. You know, I literally bottom ticked this spike down, and then, you know, I left. I could have probably, you know, if I'd stayed, I may have taken this. But look, even midday, you need usually longer flags than this. This is more of an opening range type of setup. But I guess with such disaster in the market, you got to more focus on Dreiss. If Dreiss is still, because that was the ringleader, if Dreiss is still continuing down, then, you know, I guess the whole sector is going to die anyways. So it's 50-50, right? I mean, I could have taken it and just risked a little bit, but you're really at risk of kind of throwing off your day here. It would have been nice to ride it all the way down, because that's additional from where that's an additional $1,000, you know. So that's kind of, you know, how it goes. Viral, there's no interest on the broker. I'm the, you know, essentially I'm the broker, right? You know, we have ClickFund is my fund, so I don't charge the guys interest, no, because it's intraday anyways. Yeah, Oscar, I remember I've been doing this a lot more time than you. So yeah, I mean, I could trade 1,000 or 2,000 bucks and grind my way and make it into whatever I want. Memo, what's going on in New York, baby? Good to see you. Oh, Viral, and where do you live? If you're using Interactive Brokers, you would probably pay, I think you would pay the margin on the overnight if you held it overnight. But, you know, I think on intraday, it would just be, I mean, you're only holding for hours, right? Your margin interest is going to be pennies. If you really think about margin interest, like if you're a retail broker and they charge you margin interest, it's, say, 5%, but it's spread over 365 days, so it's 5% divided by 365, you're talking about, you know, 0.03% or something. Christoph, that's because you don't understand what I'm saying. I don't want to trade all day. So I left because I made my money and I took off because that's what I like to do. Because it's sunny outside, I put the blinds on, I like to go to the beach, I like to do man stuff. I don't want to sit at the computer like some dork. I want to get drunk, I want to go chase some women's, and mostly just get drunk and hang out outside. That's it. I'm a simple man with complicated tastes. Or am I a complicated man with simple tastes? Who knows? Hey Calvin, what's up, baby? What stock are you referring to? Let me take a look. I mean, if you found a nice range that you could trade off, but to me, this is like it's a trendless stock right now. So I particularly leave it alone just because when a stock is trendless, you know, your gains are so muted. You get 20 cents here, 30 cents here, 20 cents here. You know, I like it. I would rather play it like when it's doing this. You know, that's more my preference. Hey, Sam, where you been, buddy? Yeah, FNMA is good, but you know you can't buy it up here now. You've already up multiple days in a row. Hey, good to see you, brother. Hey, Petra, yeah, Marybeth can help you with, you know, any of that stuff. I mean, you have to finish boot camp first. Hey, Amos, what's up, baby? Apple to me is not a candidate for long right now. Like, it had a nice bounce off its 200 SMA, but now it's like stuck back in the range. See how like it's in between range? So like when you're in between range, you're essentially the penis in between us, right? You're not necessarily now up or down. The wind is not at your back. Yeah, I had BBYY on my list too. A lot of people were playing it. I have no problem playing a stock like this because it trended all day, right? That's a nice smooth trend. And by the way, guys, you know, the smoother trending stocks that move a little bit slower, frankly, for new people is a lot easier to trade. It's a lot easier to trade and it's a lot less stress. The problem is, like, when you get a really fast-moving stock, you get freaked out a lot. Yeah, I mean, salt may have some more downside in it. You know, I think probably the fun today was like the death knell of the shippers today. So, you know, if you broke under this level here, you know, you may fall back a little, but this one's not as extended as the other one. You know, I don't play like that type of news, Eric. You know, the last time SCTY gapped up on the news, where was it? There was a day here somewhere when they announced a merger. I think it might have been this day. The thing faded off all day. You know, it was one of these days. I forgot exactly which day, but It faded off all damn day. The first time the merger news was announced. So who knows what all that stuff means. There's always fine lettering, underneath the scenes. This one's okay, but you don't have a pattern, right? So that's not anything for me yet. I need patterns. This one too, it's strong, but there's no pattern to it. So to me, this is not, and it doesn't have much range either. This thing was about 25 cents a day. Cool, cool, cool. Send it over, Christoph. Hey, Christoph, by the way, you know Magneto from the X-Men, I think, is Polish. So that could be like your new name. Sam, those type of stocks, they always have low PEs. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you can have a low PE, but you have a lot of debt or something, then, it's all for nothing. Anybody else get any questions? Did anybody play this thing today? I saw some guys in chat playing this. What a bunch of dorks. I leave. You guys have no babysitter for a second. And Vic tells me he tries to scalp it for two pennies. That's some bullshit, Vic. Hey, Juan, what's up, baby? Green to red. This to me wasn't a candidate for a green to red because it's not really extended. And it's not necessarily a short setup. You don't have necessarily anything there, so it's not a candidate for a green to red. Good job, Johnny. Vic, as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna open up your P&L. You better made at least $500 today. This one doesn't have enough volume. 110,000 shares. See how it's like a little bit sloppy? Low volume stocks tend to do that. They act really haphazard because there's like one seller. See, this is 5,000 candle. Its biggest candles are like 5,000 volume, so you can't really get in and out. Tesla's not my favorite car company. I'm not a big fan of electric cars. I'm only into the big three, baby: Porsche, Lambos, and Ferraris. It's not vain. It's America. The big three is a staple of America. Tesla is the type of car you can get when you get married. But before that, you gotta have something cool. Anybody else get any questions? Yeah, I'm sure they do, Christoph, but to me they just look like Toyota Camrys. Anybody else? Hey, Amos, the hottest stock today, it looks like if you just go through the top gainers, was this SCON. It was up 157%. That looked like probably the biggest mover out of the group. The second biggest was this CETC, and then it looks like this Benzo had a little bit of a move later. And CYCC, that was nice. Erica, I'm curious how to predict if a gapper from today will ORB tomorrow. Well, I look at the gappers in the morning, so what happens today, I don't care about for tomorrow yet. You got to wait for it to open. Hey, Jack, I go through the exact same scans we talk about in class. I don't do anything different. But I mean, you'll know when they're trending because they're actually trending. I mean, you don't always know. You just know the characteristics. And also, if you see a sector really running hot, then that's going to give you a lot more wind at your back than like a regular stock that's has no earnings but no sector momentum. The range is then, range, I just like big range. I want to be able to make money. I don't have like a criteria of, I need 32 cents per candle. I can't think like that. I'm a simple man. I like to eyeball things. And you can always tell, like, look, say you were looking at the CYCC today. Look at it. Like, has it had a history of making moves? Has this stock made moves before? Yes, it has. So, okay, this stock probably has the potential to make a move if I saw the pattern. Oh, you know what? Let me see. Dun, 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 dun. I never checked this TC2000 mail unless somebody reminds me. Which one are you? Which one are you? Brandon. Jack, like I said, I don't have like a written thing. I don't have a written thing. You're trying to quantify every single little detail about trading versus thinking about setup, volume, float, pattern, risk management. You're going for paralysis by analysis. We're not nerds here. Well, we are, but we're not trying to be. The more details you have, think about your brain as like filled with a glass of water, right? If you put too much information, it overflows and you miss all the fun stuff. No, I don't have any TC2000 scans for daily flags. You can make one probably in 5 minutes, but I think they even have a couple that are pre-built. Yeah, they do have one that's pre-built, but I don't know if it's any good because only one stock showed up on it. But you can make anything on this. Petru, you're probably good with computers, man. Make me a scan for it. Let me pick at it. Hey, Oscar, that's been around forever. See, when you just post the same words 4 times, it doesn't really tell me what your question is. Maybe there's a language barrier right now. Hey, Christoph, have fun, buddy. Eric, I don't know. I think you just put the person's username. I am Kunal00, though. Vic, I mean, it's 80 degrees today. I don't know how, I mean, it gets colder during the winter, but not like epically cold. I mean, it's 80 degrees today. I mean, I'm still swimming. All right, cool. I'll get it over to you, Eric. Anybody else got any questions? Oscar, just send me an email and I'll get it all to you. No worries, buddy. Yes, I'll get you all set up with what you need, Oscar. Don't worry about it. Anybody else got any questions? Well, how do you email a scan to somebody? On TC2000, just go to this TC mail and just type in somebody's username and it should be okay. It'll show up. So you just go here, send message, and put in Kunal00. You just go in. All right. What else? I think class starts next week, so we'll be rocking and rolling. Good. And our our mentorship group is starting on the 27th, I believe. I see some of you guys are in it, so I do need to have a phone call with each of you guys before we start the mentorship group because it'll be more tailored towards the things you want to work on. But we'll get that going too. Vic, man, I miss you, man. I better see you soon. All right, rock and roll, folks. Go once. Going twice. So, adios, muchachos. Peace.